Hi folks, welcome to week 3. I want to remind you first that this is the week you need to complete, if you haven't already done, your Get on the Bus assessment. With this is where you physically need to get on the bus, ride it around for a while. Here's the assignment link. Make sure that when you do this, that before you get on the bus, you print off this assessment so that you can fill it out as you go. The copy you turn into me does need to be typed, but you can kind of jot notes on that and it'll make it go much more quickly for you. So you're not trying to look it all up at the end. And make sure you have, that's the windshield survey right here. Within this document, it also has the key informant interviews, and then your own conclusion and reflection piece, and they're in that document as well. Those last two parts need to be done individually if you partnered up with someone for those first two parts. Still make sure that last part you do solo. So that needs to be done by the end of week 3, but I also encourage you to look a little further ahead as well. You selected your populations last week. That was great. I went through and read explanations for a lot of the reasons you all chose it, and I think there are going to be some amazing projects coming out of this semester. Some of you are really passionate about your groups. Some of you are really curious about your populations, and so I'm excited to see where it all goes. But the population that you chose on week 2, I want you to start looking ahead at this Vulnerable Population Health Concerns project. It's not due until week 5, but this is what you'll be working on over the next few weeks up until then. So really quickly, there's a few parts to it. When you come into the assignment, the first part is just what you did week 2, where you're just going to literally copy and paste over some of the information as far as who your population is, what the sizes are, locally, statewide, nationally, internationally, as much as you can tell. I know that some groups have more statistics out there than others. You're also going to look ahead. This is recommended for you to do next week, but just to work ahead if you get a chance. You'll need to go in and you're going to do a Healthy People 2020 Social Determinants of Health. And what you're going to do is look at what barriers might be present for your population and give an explanation. This doesn't need to be a really long explanation. We're not looking for APA paragraphs after paragraphs. Just a short little fragmented sentence or two will do it. Same when you come down here and look to see where there's the biggest concerns for your population. Is it that their largest area of concern is physical? Is it psychosocial? Is it economic? What really is a long-term concern for your population? You're going to go in and do a root cause analysis. If you go to this link, it'll take you to an exterior site that walks you through a little of what a root cause is. But it's kind of like going into 2-year-old mode, where you continually ask why, 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 why. So if you are looking at a population and you want to get to what is actually causing that health disparity, you need to look back to see what's truly at the root of that disparity. It's not just that they really struggle right now with one specific thing. A lot of it ties back into roots of, for example, poverty, mental health concerns, things like that, even if that's not the main focus of your vulnerable population. So go through and ask yourself a few whys and get to at least one root cause. You can do a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now I understand that each population that's chosen is made up of a lot of different individuals that'll have different levels of need. What you're looking at is, in general, on average, a person within that population, where would they fall? So if it's a person in a homeless population, then they're going to be pretty low on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs because they're not having basic needs such as shelter met. They may not have needs such as clean water or adequate food met. Where other populations, for example, visually impaired, a person can be obviously visually impaired and still very financially well off, still have a very high level of functioning in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but there may still be a few concerns with safety earlier on, just based on their own visual limitations, but they may simultaneously be able to look at self-actualization at some of those higher levels. So this doesn't need to be a complete comprehensive list of every single subcategory that's met or every single subcategory that's not met, but just kind of a snapshot across the board of, well, it turns out that most of your, example here, I'll pull it up for you. We can say, so for a population, most of their physiological needs are met, but they may still have concerns with sleep, safety, and loving and belonging. Don't seem to be too much of a concern, but the same population may have issues, for example, with self-esteem and confidence, which can then impede their spontaneity, the self-actualization. And so just kind of thinking through that a little more as far as on average a person within your population. And then down here in this bottom part, and this is what's recommended for week 5, but you can absolutely get ahead and make your life a little easier in the future. Let me just pop back over this way. You're going to start looking at communicable diseases and infections, non-communicable diseases and infections. Look at things like, for an average person in your population, is there a higher risk overall for the population for self-care deficits or self-harm, intentional, unintentional? And what kind of risks do they have as far as being harmed by others or harming others? Now, you do need to find evidence for as many of these things as you can. Remember back to evidence-based practice where there's multiple forms of evidence. So there's journal articles and research and all that good stuff. But part of it also comes down to the patient preference doesn't factor in as much at this point, but your own professional expertise falls in here as well. Now, these don't need to all be journal articles. In fact, I would highly recommend peeking around at websites for reputable organizations, see if you can get some of the information from there. Do try to get it as current as possible. As you submit this in at the end of week 5, you can do it as a PowerPoint. If you do it as a PowerPoint, this doesn't mean like taking the equivalent of a paper and dividing it up on a PowerPoint and making it really wordy. Just hit some of the main parts. You can add footnotes in it if you would like in the little section below on the PowerPoints. You can do multimedia, so if you want to do a Powtoon or a Prezi or a video of some sort, that's fine as well. Or if you do a Word document, please do not type a full paper. Just go in, put the headings for each of these things, and then bullet point below what your responses are. This is not a giant full-scale APA paper. It's a way for you to get to know your population better so that when we meet week 6 face-to-face, you're well-versed enough in your population to know for sure who you'd best partner with as we move forward into groups for the remainder of the semester after we come together week 6. So this is just preparing you for that. As a quick side note, I'd like to remind you to still look ahead a little at the population engagement hours. Those aren't due until week 7, but there's 5 of them, and getting those done sooner than later may benefit you. And also, a peek way into the future is don't forget that by the end of the semester, you need to have done the community service as well. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. Send me an email through Canvas. I'll get back to you just as quickly as I can. I'm really excited to see you all week 6 and look forward to see what you're coming up with. Have a great day.